Your support helps us bring you programs you love. Go to Wyoming PBSorg, click on Support, and become a sustaining member or an annual member. It's easy and secure. Thank you.
Naman nanababit or sumbaro itakap. Ugichi ugara sidinge wa sumbaran.
He see the little, he see the how I had to you want to have. How you want how I do. You want how you need the war faith, you know, I need to run he see.
Chivakuja, Taman Nana Ugavichindas Bumusokras in a sumbaro it was sumahan. Such me the pun.
This program was made possible by the Matthew and Virgie O. Dragizevich Foundation.
Early in the European exploration of North America, collectors took an interest in Native American arts, weaponry, and attire. Sometimes they purchased artifacts, sometimes stole them, and sometimes killed for them. Over the years, pipes, moccasins, roaches, cradle boards, and parfleshes accumulated in museums and private collections. The item's purpose and how it was acquired was often forgotten. Many of the artifacts have disintegrated over time. Those that have been turned over to quality museums have often been restored and preserved, but thorough knowledge is sometimes lacking. Many artifacts remain in the vaults and display cases of museums, far from their place of origin, and far from the people who might best appreciate them. Some have attempted to return these artifacts to reservations. Recently, there has been a movement to retrieve artifacts virtually through digital images that can be shared, a virtual museum. With the help of tribal leaders and reservation historic and cultural societies, Northern Arapaho and Eastern Shoshone collaborators have been identified to build a virtual museum so that these items can be viewed by the people on the reservation. Key tribal elders with an interest in the project volunteered to travel to Chicago to create the Wind River Virtual Museum.
The artifacts that we're going to see, I've seen some of them before. When I was growing up, my grandpas and grandmas, they used some of those things.
Those items, they tell a story in themselves, about the things that we did and how we lived.
I'm well informed of my grandfather's ways. I was born in the 40s. They were still alive. They were old men. They could still relate stories of pre-reservation days, and that's where I learned.
It all depends on how you were brought up, because I never heard stories. I gained my knowledge by reading books. And another thing that I have is experience.
I'm 17 years old, and I am definitely interested in learning more about the old ways and to keep it going, because it is who you are. No matter what, that's where you came from.
The Wind River Virtual Museum Project is an attempt to provide two tribes of Wyoming, the Eastern Shoshone and Northern Arapaho, with an archive of high-definition images of ancestral artifacts presently inaccessible to tribal members. Many items were not filmed at the request of elders who volunteered to preserve their observations and wisdom for future generations.
A lot of artifacts and items are sacred items used for spiritual purposes.
I think the artifacts that we're going to see is something that people would want to hear about, but they would all be very cautious. We can have some of our elders maybe clear the way with prayer, with cedar, wheatgrass.
Good to meet you, Alaka.
Alaka.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
We're very honored to have you here. My name is Alaka Wally, and I'm Curator of North American Anthropology here at the Field Museum. Jamie's going to be here with you all day. We've been honored to have the visit of 2 different groups from the Wind River Reservation, from the Arapaho Nation, and then visitors from the Shoshone Nation.
So most of the bones that you see there are original.
It's rare that we get this kind of visit. They've been looking at our collections and describing for the virtual museum what the objects are, what they mean, how they might have been used. Our records of these objects are very episodic. So some things we have a lot of information on, and other things we have virtually nothing. Oftentimes what we have is the version of the document from the ethnographer or the person who collected it, and not from the people who lived them.
And we've pulled some artifacts for you to take a look at.
The fear that I had with the artifacts was I thought there'd be more designs that weren't Shoshone.
These are a couple of the roaches that we pulled for you.
What I saw right away was something good, And the more closer I got to it, I said, this is Indian, this is Shoshone.
It's really, really critical for the future of these collections that we have this kind of record.
We were just discussing that that set of porcupine quills is probably collected in the summertime because they're longer and they're more yellowish. And if they're collected in the winter weather, they're more whitish.
What amazed me was how much they know.
Sound speed. All right. Got it. So, what are these items called in common? What do people commonly call them?
This here is what we call, that means it's a fan.
Well, if you come right down to the nitty-gritty, they just call them rawhide bags.
Our drum, it's the heartbeat of the Arapaho tribe.
This is a real good basket, those designs are kind of rattlesnake designs.
Tribal elders selected the items to be included in the virtual museum. Some of the items had not been removed from storage for more than 100 years. They were taken out of boxes and placed with great care before the camera. A few were suspended so they could be filmed from all sides. Trained museum staff assisted the film crew in treating the items respectfully and cautiously during the filming process. Commentary on each item's use, design, and history was recorded both in English and in their native language, so that viewers can choose which language they would prefer.
This is a baby cradle. I used to pack the babies with it.
Basipa, this one is the addition to a roach.
This is a head roach worn by the men. This roach is made during the time that they were having wars with each other, wars with the Arapahoes, Crow, or Sioux. They wore this on the head and tied it, under their neck over here, so it won't be flopping around.
And during the wartime, they were used as a camouflage headpiece. And if you're down in the grass, a lot of the grasses look like this. That roach was there hiding you.
The wing of an eagle, the right wing of an eagle, fans similar to this one are used in our ceremonies. Our traditional dancers carry them today. The craftsman that puts them together, he has a purpose, some wishes. It's in a form of a prayer. He prays for the individual that is going to utilize this. He prays for the future, maybe in educational pursuits, maybe in employment, maybe in health. All of these things. He takes time as he puts these objects together. This fan is going to take care of this individual, comparable to the Christianity, a guardian angel. That's the way that they pray today.
This is most generally used for children. They fill them sometimes with sweet pine or sugar pine and sage or mint leaves so that a child can have that around their neck so that their neck won't get cold. They're less likely to catch a cold, have a sore throat. And that's partly the reason for these decorative type of necklaces that they wore.
So these here are medicine rattles used to connect to the spirit world. These here are made out of rawhide. This is an eagle feather here. Those are magpie feathers. It was a power that these birds possessed. It was given to an individual, a medicine man. And this is what they would use. These medicine rattles. They use spirituality to our people.
A lot of the things that I saw here today had forgot about it. But then when I saw it today, well, then it brought back memories of my mother and my aunts and my dad and the ones that used to do different things.
I was interested in the roaches. That was the old style. And you very seldom see those type of roaches. We see a little bit of it today at our dances and our powwows, and sun dances, They look very similar.
I really like looking at the quill work. It's from porcupine quills, and they're boiled. The sharp part is taken off. I have to have a lot of patience for it. And the cradle boards, I never really saw an Arapaho cradle board, and I thought it was really interesting.
When you see these objects here, you begin to, through them, understand the lived history of people. Then I think you gain a deeper appreciation of that connection between objects, the material world, and the beliefs that inform the lifeways.
This is some type of a holder. Possibly a woman can put her awl in there.
Well, most generally your awl is used like a leather punch. They use it to poke holes in materials that that they couldn't run a needle through.
When Rafaelita and Filbert were talking about the awl holder, there is a way of thinking that's embedded in the use of that awl. It informs how you think about the leather, and it informs how you think about the animal that leather came from. Having those things allowed people to hold on to culture when so much was going against them. Indian people have been displaced and forcibly removed from their culture. People actively tried to take their culture away and to get people not to speak the language.
What they wanted to do, they wanted to transform the whole tribe. They wanted to de-Indianize them, take the Indian out of the man, kill the Indian in the man, and produce image similar to that of a non-Indian.
When these objects were collected, they were collected because the anthropologists or the collectors of that time thought these people are disappearing. They will not be here, and their way of life will no longer be here, so we better collect their objects so we can record and have a document of what their life was like. And look, they're still here.
This item is commonly called a parfleche. Is that correct?
Yeah, parfleche.
Parfleche, yeah. I don't know, I think that's French though. These items here were used to pack things away for transport or for storage. Now, everything from food items such as dried meats and other dried foods, and also personal items such as clothing, medicinal items, used as containers. Hawanathi. Hawanathi, we call these here. How is dehydrated meat. You know, we didn't have refrigerators. Everything was dried naturally. And then they would store the meat within these bags to carry your food supply. They were able to stay nourishing for long periods of time. They were the suitcases, I guess we'll compare them to, handbags or whatever.
It's rawhide from animal skins, deer, elk. It's quite a process to do that. I used to fix hides. I used to soak it. It takes maybe about a week or so, and then take the hair off. And then we stretch it. Have to pull on it and then work on it, and then later on it becomes buckskin.
When objects are made for use, they're made for use. And so the people who made those objects, whether they're the wooden spoons or the parfleches or the objects of everyday life in particular, they were not meant to survive for hundreds and hundreds of years. They would be used, and then when they were, old and beaten up, they'd be recycled, right? By bringing them into the museum, we changed that condition, and we've tried to make it so that the object is preserved for all time. That's our obligation, that's our mission, because we think that in the future, people will still value these things and will want to have them to look at and to appreciate.
The term used for this one would be a hide scraper. It has a metal piece on the front that they sharpen so that it peels the hair off from the hide. Depending on the degree of pressure you put on there, you could make a thick hide, a thinner hide, or if you wanted to, you could flesh out the inside so that you can dry it.
Before they had the metal pieces, it was just nothing but bone. And then they had to sharpen the edge to the bone to get it, sharp like this. But then the bone would wear out. So once they got a hold of some metal like this is where they applied it, right there.
The lady folks were the ones that had to do all of the hide scraping in the old times. And then later on, when the men folks found out that there was some monetary gain in it, well, then they took over and started using the hide scrapers and what have you.
To show you the objects that are here.
I had a chance to bring my daughter along with me, and she was able to see some of the old-time beadwork. When she got to see it today, she said, "Oh, that's what you were talking about." Well, that's a different type of beadwork. I've just never seen before. And she said, I was glad to be here today, see it like that. You can tell this one took a long time to make. You can see the colors on your beads. So over here they're more orangey, and over here they're more reddish. Made me feel like I at least got to show her something that, I couldn't let her visualize without seeing an item that was there. Maybe the younger people, they can see it and take pride in where they come from.
What I always hope for the young Indian people is that they can navigate between different understandings of the world and seeing that the elders have struggled so hard to keep this knowledge for them, that imparts to them the resilience of people.
Our young people, to the greatest extent possible, should be informed about their past. They should be able to gain some insight and some knowledge of how things used to be.
I think the most emotional part of today was seeing the old pictures of our ancestors or relatives, our family.
We also have pictures in here further on of scenes that were taken in the field by probably some of the anthropologists who were out there at the time.
Seeing them in those photographs, modeling our dresses, our regalia, they went through a lot. What I learned today and from this trip, it motivates me and inspires me to learn more about it and to keep it going and educate my generation, the younger generation. It's life-changing almost.
If we take this home,
I was very moved by the comments of Icky John. Said, this is for the young people, and on the one hand, they want their young people to get educated and go to college, and on the other hand, they want them to have this traditional knowledge.
So many of our youngsters, they have never seen beadwork like they had on display here. And to talk about it, well, it probably went in one ear and out the other. It just didn't register. And if they can see an artifact, I think it'd be more interesting for them.
Just take all of these here and send them back home to us.
I'm going to repatriate. Yeah, this pipe is sacred to us anyway.
Yeah, that one shouldn't be on display.
Yeah.
It don't belong here.
I did hear very directly from at least one of the elders that they're irritated that these objects are here and they don't belong here. They belong with them. He definitely associated their presence in the museum with the history of displacement and disempowerment. I don't think it matters whether to him or to people who want objects back, whether they were bought or stolen or however they were acquired. It was not right. And I think, there is that perspective. Not everybody in Indian country agrees with that perspective.
When I first learned about this trip to Chicago, I was kind of anxious to see what I could learn and, be able to apply that to our museum if and whenever we get one.
There was the idea to build more museums on reservations so that the people would have the conditions to take care of these objects. Some of these things are very fragile and they're very old. So you cannot just put them on a shelf and expect they'll be okay. And a lot of effort goes into caring for them. So it requires a lot of resources.
I think it's been over 40 years that we've been trying to get a museum set up. But in the process, we've been kind of left in the dust when it comes to funding.
If the items are here, I think it would give us more of an opportunity to learn about how we used to do things. And I know we know a lot, but it would help if we had those artifacts with us.
The Wind River Virtual Museum will become a placeholder until the artifacts can be brought home to the reservation. This visual record will serve as a teaching tool for younger members of the tribe to learn about their ancestors and a past way of life.
Articles, they belong to my ancestors. They should be taken back and put somewhere. So some of it we can make use of them, and some of them we can't use them. We're taking them out, bury them, you know, because somebody in my tribe could probably make use of them, you know. But they're sitting there. Mixed emotions, you might say. Because with me, it's not all right with me.